Hey, this is Mo Lunsford at Union Grove Lumber Studios.
And this is the Shed Geek. We want to welcome you to today's episode.
Welcome back. This episode is a continuation from last week. If you missed part one, please go back and give it a listen. What do you think as someone newer in the industry? I mean, there's a lot of product knowledge no matter what company you go with.
Right.
And you think, wow, it's just a shed, but there is a lot of product knowledge, no doubt about it. There's the systems and the processes, which certainly are evolving, and there's a lot of software out there now that just is amazing to me, coming from stuff that was much more challenging. There's nobody's going to teach you a personality, but what do you see the challenges as a new dealer? What are the biggest challenges getting into the industry that you see? Because there's a lot of people that still want to get into our industry, and I don't want anybody to think that this is not an amazing industry. It is. There are huge opportunities, yet there are a lot of people struggling. Why do you think that is?
Well, I heard something here a few weeks ago that somebody made a comment and said that you should probably, the shed industry has probably seen all the good days that it's ever going to see, and you probably should consider
I literally just twitched.
Should probably
What?
get out of the industry before too long, because it's probably
Let's back up here. Thank you, everyone, for listening. No,
it's not going to have too much of a future.
Interesting.
And then the person who quoted that said that the person who made that statement said it in 1974.
I knew he was going there.
See, I was getting ready to wrap up the podcast because I thought we were all retiring.
All in on that, and I knew where it was headed.
I knew he was pulling my leg, but I thought let's just wrap up the
So
podcast.
my
We're all
point
done.
is- my point is-
1974. They said that.
So it's only
that's
50
good.
years ago, so
Yeah.
probably should consider sometime here. But my point is that whatever attitude that you have toward anything that you're going to do, I don't care if it's music or any other industry that you're going to be in. Mm-hmm. There's a country song that Clint Black did. I believe it was Clint.
I love Clint Black.
And he said, the line in the song I think is so profound. He says, we tell ourselves that what we've got is what we meant to find.
Interesting.
And so it's about a love song. It says,
Right.
I don't think I'll
Right.
believe my heart next time.
Okay. Yeah.
So I think that whatever attitude that we want to take toward anything is what it'll be, because whatever you focus on is what you're going to get more of. Mm-hmm. So to me, if I focus on, well, here's all the negative things about the industry or about the economy or about, I mean, pick it, from politics to everything else, and it's just like, whatever I choose to focus on is all I'm going to see, because I'm using that filter. We used to call rose-colored glasses or whatever. So I think that to me is where I'm landing, of saying, what am I focusing on? And that's where I'm going to see or not see something. And I think that's very significant. And even in the service industry of delivering sheds or anything else, that if I'm expecting customers to be unhappy, well, maybe I'm triggering that. But my response, and so to your point about the guy that's saying, hey, they wanted this, and 6 times to move a building is pretty patient.
Yeah. But
He saw something of value for him to continue to work with the people to get what they wanted
Well,
at his expense.
So they're sitting around a fire tonight with their new shed out there, and they got 4 couples over there. Somebody asked, how was your experience with your shed? What do you imagine is going to be said?
He was either the nicest guy this side of anywhere, or he was just a jerk.
Yeah, because that's literally based on what he did under the circumstance.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I'll stand on a rock and preach
that's
that.
Amazing.
That every time that customer comes in, there's 100 customers behind that guy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That guy might just know 10, but those 10, we know how it works. Know 10 more, and now you got 100, and you haven't even gone anywhere from there, and it's huge.
Well, to your point, bad news travels fast.
Yeah.
Good
Yeah,
news. Good news
Yeah.
travels. Yeah.
Well, I
So,
think,
yeah.
it does. And I believe that is factually
Does
accurate.
that answer your question?
And that
Yeah,
company doesn't
yeah.
even know that he did it.
Oh, fun. Oh, fun.
No,
Yeah.
that company doesn't know what he did.
Interesting.
Yeah.
They just know they have
I
a
mean,
good
he
driver
ought
out
he
there.
ought to get a steak dinner or
Yeah.
something.
Now, that being said, one of the co-owners of the company said a couple years ago, made a whole bunch of haulers mad that he's the best shed hauler in the industry. So the owner does know what he has, but he has no idea what that guy did Monday and Tuesday.
Right.
Yeah.
He just knows that his sheds got put out there and that he has happy customers.
So I recently
Yeah.
taped a TV show, and it is not shed related, but it is a entrepreneurial boot camp show that's going to be coming out in a few months called The Blocks, and I'll be on season 16. And we talked a lot about. They had some facts and data, and I don't remember the exact numbers, but we were talking about the customer experience. And I think this is part of the problem in the shed industry. In fact, I don't think it's the shed industry. I think it is part of anything we do in life. The sales process and the customer success is, we spend all this time and energy to get someone to sell a shed to talk to. We're paying money for leads, or our time doing free posts, and then we nurture them. We're all nice and not being phony, but we spend a lot of time, and then we sell them, and then we're just done with them.
Right.
The most important part of that process that'll make you the most money starts the minute after they buy that shed.
Right.
Going back to the sales process, it's not just the shed industry. I'm not here to bash this industry. I live for this industry. But we do forget that. And I think we forget it on a corporate level. I think we forget it on a dealer level. We get busy. And I think we need to self-reflect the customer experience. You will get more of your future customers from 20% of the customers you sell to if you do it right. Listen to what I'm saying. You will get more of your future customers from 20% of the customers that you have if you do it right. But we forget that part. And it's true, and I can prove it when I was in insurance and we're not going to go into that whole thing, but I'm one of the only people in insurance and I was number one out of 2,600 insurance agents for a company for a contest one time. And the numbers speak for themselves. But I worked almost exclusively by referral as a multi-line insurance agent selling auto, home, life, disability, your renter's insurance, motorcycle, boat, all those fun things. And I spent more time fostering the relationship once I sold the insurance policy. My insurance agent is not going to listen to this, but it's the truth, even if he was. He's an order taker. He's absolutely an order taker, and most of our insurance agents are. Yet he gets a big 10% of my auto premium, every month, or he gets paid up front. And what he's forgotten is after I bought from him was the time to start nurturing the relationship going forward, because I probably would have sent him a ton of people like my customers used to send to me. So that's a big, big part of it. And it's not just our industry, but that is a big problem in our industry. I know Dylan Street, I just saw some comments. I know he and I had a conversation. Oh my gosh, Dylan, I don't know when, a month ago, 2 months ago, about nurturing and really concentrating on, once you make that sale, nurture that relationship. Because again, if you do it right and you truly nurture that relationship, most of your future customers are going to come from 20% of the people you've already written. Folks, what that means to you is you can spend less money. Sorry, Dylan. They can spend it with you on their website and doing cool things, but you can spend less time trying to get people to nurture because they're coming to you naturally. I think that's priceless. I think that's a big thing in this industry, and I can't imagine that someone would want to pick a bone with me and argue about that. I mean, if you want to, if you want to spend all your time trying to get people to talk to, have at it. But there is a way that's more effective. And I know Dylan, I've seen some comments he's made on some posts. He's really leaning into that too with the people he's working with Shed Geek Marketing. And by the way, I'm not a paid endorser, but those guys are brilliant. And I love it. I love the way that some of us are really leaning into that. Let's teach people how to spend less of their time trying to find someone to talk to and more of their time working with people that really want to buy a shed from them. So, do you think that, why do you think some dealers might be struggling? Because there's a lot of them. And you alluded to this.
Well, I was
Earlier.
just thinking while you're reflecting on some of the industry, and I don't think it's in, I think it's in the sales industry, the service industry. Mm-hmm. So I haven't been in the shed industry for a long time, but I had people who, I think a great compliment to me was when they said, I came back and I bought from you because you seemed like a nice person.
Yeah.
And you cared.
Genuinely nice is
So-
what they were really saying. They just didn't probably use that word.
Some friends
but
of
yeah.
mine, Jeff and Sherry Easter, Jeff would quote some of his uncle or his dad or somebody who would say, you got to be who you is, because if you is who you ain't who you is.
Yeah.
Just the authenticity of saying, do you care about people? Now, I've gone to places where at the door, they want you to fill out the information of your name, your email, and all the contact information, and you're just the nicest person this side of anywhere. At the end of the event, you bump into the same person who is drooling nice to you, and they don't even acknowledge your existence to say, hey, have a good week, or, nice to meet you.
Right.
None of that, because they already had your stuff, and they didn't give a rip about who you are anymore, because they had your information. And I'm saying, how cheap can we be? And I'm appalled at how we've gotten to that place in organizations that we would think would be kinder than that. Just be
Yeah.
authentically kind. If you're not kind, then go mop the floors or something,
Right.
where you don't have to interact with people. Do it after
that's
hours.
true. And that's very,
But if you're in
very,
this,
very true.
don't let it be just for the money.
Yeah.
Yes, you can get rewarded for your effort, but be nice to people. If you can't be nice, then
Yes.
go find some happy pills someplace so you can go do
Yes.
those and then come back and then be nice.
Yes. And I was trying to
Go
think.
listen to some comedy or something.
I cannot remember where it was, but I just had a horrible experience recently, and I literally said to the person, like, oh, yeah, I do remember where it was, but the person can hear me because of the background noise, and what they thought I said was not what I said, so I didn't yell. I raised my voice so they could hear, and they still got it wrong. And man, she said a couple of snippy things to me, and I literally said to her, you must be having a really bad day, but your bad day should not be my problem. Like, I am the customer. I'm sorry you're not hearing me because of the background noise. But I just thought, man, what a horrible experience. And I went way above her head because it was just, and it was not in the shed industry, but it was just like such a horrible experience. That business is someplace that I have spent a tremendous amount of money over the years, and I will never go back there because of that one experience.
But if
of
I
that one
find that I'm
experience.
in a situation, I'm not having a good day, and I got a bad attitude, I got bad news, I got something going on, maybe I need to just close the door and go take a nap, go do something, so that I'm not passing on the negative stuff to people.
I 100%
but I can
agree.
I can be in a nice posture and be nice.
I 100% agree. Because part
If I'm taking a nap someday, Sam, that's where I am.
with your feet up on the desk,
I'm
eating
looking for some-
bonbons,
Don't wake a
asleep.
sleeping bear.
I'm looking for some happy pills.
But I think it's true because we bring if we bring a bad attitude, we don't know. I think a lot of times go, oh well, they weren't really serious anyway. They're just shopping for the competition down the street, or they, our prices are too high. They don't have any money, and when in fact the problem was us.
Yeah.
So do you think, I had a dealer recently who is struggling tremendously, and I'm helping them, but it's like, I'm like the shed doctor. Like, let me I've worked with so many dealers, with so many companies, that it's not hard to see what the problem is by asking a few questions. And I said, why are you not selling sheds? What is going on? The lot had no signage. It looked like a zombie apocalypse was going to happen. I don't know that anybody driving by would have known it was actually a business. The office was even worse than the outside. And he said, the reason I'm not selling sheds is the guy down the street is $200 cheaper. All right. And I said,
I see that all the time.
yeah. And I said, on which model and size?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, I don't know. The customer said they're $200 cheaper. Said, well, okay, we'll discuss that further in a moment. Why else aren't you selling sheds? What are your problems? Well, they can do a split unit on rent tone, and we can't. All right, fair enough. I mean, your options are your options, right? So there were several things. And what it came down to, the reason he isn't selling sheds is because what's between his ears. And I'm not saying that he's a very, very kind man, very smart. He is his own worst enemy. We actually did a test call to that person down the street, and it could have went sideways. I am not kidding you, folks. I call as a potential customer. The gentleman that answered the phone didn't tell me who he was. He didn't ask my name. He didn't ask where the building was being delivered. He didn't ask what I was going to use it for. He didn't ask what type of roof style. He didn't ask what type of doors, if I wanted any windows. But we really got to a really quick price within about 75 seconds. That price was it was $400 less than the same size and style for that dealer that said, well, they're $200 cheaper down the street. And in that very short conversation, he did tell me, well, no, we don't do mini splits on rent-to-own because we don't even offer mini splits. And oftentimes, folks, it is the untruths that nobody is lying to you. I'm not saying you're a liar, or people are intentionally lying to you. It's the untruths we tell ourselves that we convince ourselves, and that is the reason why we're not selling more sheds, I think. Because we get these somewhere along the line. When he heard someone say to him, they're $200 cheaper down the street, he'd never thought about the other 434 options and sizes and stuff.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And it's and being kind and being, you don't have to have every single answer on the products, but being knowledgeable is important. But what if you just educated yourself 1% a day? If you knew 1% more tomorrow than you do today. I asked the dealer, I said, who's the manufacturer down the street? And he said, oh, I have no idea. All right. I said, you ever go meet him? No. About a week later, he says, oh, man, now I'm really in a debacle. I went down there and I pretended like I was a customer. I'm sorry. This is
awesome.
a true story. He says, I pretended like I was a customer, which is different than doing a test call. And he says, the guy said, I recognize your vehicle. Aren't you the dealer right down the street from me? And I said, oh, man, I'm not going to say who this dealer's name is. But I said, if it were me, I would eat crow while it was warm, and I would get in my vehicle that he recognizes, and I would go back and apologize. What would have been really nice is if you would have said, hey, my name is so-and-so. I'm down the street from you. I'd love to just get to know each other. There's enough business for all of us. So,
what about that?
Yeah, what about that? How many of you listening have done that? Greetings from the Shed Gal. As I delve deeper into the shed and steel building industries, I am thrilled to establish connections with friends who offer amazing products, such as Wendell Hochstetler, the owner of VersaBend Tube Bender. At VersaBend, they thank you for your interest in their tube bender. The VersaBend is designed to bend 2-inch, 2¼ inch, and 2½ inch square tubing, as well as 2x3 inch rectangular tubing in either 14 or 12 gauge. Powered by a robust 5 horsepower unit, It features 2 adjustable stops for setting your desired degree or pitch. Priced at just $19,500 and shipped from Abbeville, South Carolina, you can secure your VersaBend with a down payment of only $1,500. Contact them today to check availability and get placed on their order list. VersaBend is a family-owned business dedicated to providing an easy-to-operate bender made with off-the-shelf components. A unique feature of their bender is that it offers a full radius bend, unlike the double crushed bends produced by most other machines. Want to see it in action? Visit their website at www.csecarport.supply or give them a call at 864-446-3645.
So, can I talk about competition a little bit?
Yeah,
Okay.
please. We got all night.
So, there's a rabbi by the name of Daniel Lapin,
Okay.
and he wrote a book called Thou Shalt Prosper. And he has a TV show broadcast called Ancient Jewish Wisdom. And in one of his books about business, he said, if I was going to open up a jewelry store, or you were going to, and you would ask me for advice, he said, I would advise you to not go where there are no jewelry stores, but go where the others are and set up shop right beside them. Mm-hmm. So here's food
Does
for
this
thought.
sound familiar to you at all?
It does.
So he said, that's where everybody's looking for it. Look at Car Alley in different cities and cars, all that stuff. So here's a personal experience. I was living in Fort Wayne, Indiana, and moved away. And the day, 10 years ago, that I moved away from there, a coffee shop, restaurant called Tim Hortons opened up their first store in Fort Wayne, Indiana. So sometime later, I was back there, and they were opening more stores in that city, and I met the corporate guy who was there. So I've struck up a conversation saying, hey, so what do? You travel? How far do you travel to open up stores? And he opened up a store in Tuktoyaktuk.
Who do what? What?
And he opened up a
Can
store.
you do that again?
Hootie, what?
It was Tuktoyaktuk.
Yeah.
And he opened up a store in Inuvik. So I said, so where else have you been? He said, I opened up the first Tim Hortons in Dubai.
Oh, that's cool. Now I really want to go to Dubai.
So
Tim
they're all
Hortons
over.
just happens to be my favorite.
I was there
coffee.
5 years ago.
Yeah.
They're all over Dubai. He opened up right beside Starbucks.
Of course he did. Absolutely.
And he said the Starbucks. I said, how'd that go? He said the owner of Starbucks was pretty upset. Until
We're
opening-
gonna have a Mel Weaver moment here.
until the opening day in Tim Hortons. If you know Tim Hortons, you know Tim Hortons?
I know of Tim Hortons. We don't have Tim Hortons in
Arizona.
Arizona or Washington
I
State.
thought maybe
or-
in Washington,
or
but I don't know.
Arkansas.
Oh, Washington might be
But-
getting close.
But they
That's
are.
true.
I thought maybe in Washington. But anyway,
No.
there's 3,000 some stores across Canada. So it's coffee, donuts, soup, sandwiches, whatever.
Yeah.
Comparable would be maybe Starbucks,
No.
Dunkin' Donuts.
No.
But it's in the league.
No.
Okay. So it's not.
They're in a league of their own.
But
I'm
anyway,
sorry.
you go in Canada, it's a rare day, and they're all over the place, but it's a rare day that there's not a line inside and that there's
Wow.
not a line in the drive-through. A line.
Any time of day.
Any time of day or night.
No.
But they're
Okay.
always busy.
Yes.
That's the point. So they open up in Dubai, there's a line because everybody in the world likes Tim Hortons. There's a line. But some people said, I don't have time for this line. There's Starbucks. Starbucks increased their business because Tim Hortons opened up a store. And he said, that guy that owned the Starbucks said, I've got more Starbucks. You want to open up beside me?
Yeah. Well,
He got the principle of the whole thing that Rabbi Daniel Lapin's talking about is saying, guys, quit trying to think that you got to be all this extra thing and that competition is your enemy. It's sparking the interest in people. It's helping each other. And you got to run your business, but quit thinking everybody else is the enemy.
oh, absolutely. I think
There's
the
my
dealers
point.
I work with, yeah, I think it's brilliant. It's brilliant. The dealers I work with, for the most part, the enemy, the competitor, is within our own heads. It has been in mine in the past in different
Right.
situations, and it's like somebody's out there going, "Oh, that's not me." You're the one I'm talking to. You're the one I'm talking to. If if you're like, "Oh no," because that guy down the street is $200 cheaper, that you're the one I'm talking to, and there is help out there in this. So we have a situation. I'm not going to say who it is, but it's in South Carolina, new Shed Gal lot. It's going to be a spectacular location. And there's a lot very, very close to us. There's one a few miles down the road. And it'll all be announced soon, but it's two of the most spectacular other dealers in the state on those lots. And I literally couldn't be happier for that exact reason, back to your Tim Horton story. Mm-hmm. In fact, one of them, it was like there was a little say in who went there on that piece of property. We could have said, "Oh no, we don't want that person." It was like, "Oh no, let's search out this person because I know what's going to happen. It's going to help all of our sales increase. It's going to help all of our sales increase." So, I guess you can call me Tim from now on. But I think that's really true. You got another bug?
No, I'm still working that bug out. But
He's
I'm
working
doing
on
better.
Tuck the Yuck Duck.
Yeah, the hootie what.
The hootie what?
Is Tim
Yeah.
Bug 2 or Tim
Yeah.
Bug 3?
But it is so interesting because it's I've heard it several times. I've seen it written several times. It happens every single election year. Well, when someone tells me every single, that means there are no exceptions. Well, there was none of us having problems selling sheds 4 years ago, and it was an election year. It's also a different time. It's a reason. Is it part of everything? Yes,
Maybe I read
but
a
it
song
is
about
not.
1974.
That's right. There you go. That's right. Yeah. When the shed industry
It's
was
over.
it's over. It's over. Every single state that I've traveled in and I've met with dealers, I hear a lot of the same things, of course, as you do, probably talking to people in the industry. Oh, it's so oversaturated. All right, folks, in Washington, Arizona, you have no idea how many shed dealers can be within a 5-mile area until you head out this way.
Yeah, that's
But
for
it's
sure.
the same exact reasons. And I've said all along, I think the problem is more that most people, especially in Washington, Arizona, and I say those states because that's where I'm from, and I bet a lot of the dealers out there, the successful dealers, would feel the same way. Most people have no idea what a portable building is. None. They still don't even know it exists. They think that you have to hire a contractor and build a shed. So it's interesting, but we tell ourselves those things. Oh, the market is saturated. Oh, it's the time of year. Oh,
But they
it's
do
this.
have a need for storage.
Always. But
And they'll
what
go
I'm
rent a
saying,
room.
oh, they'll rent a room, and there's no problem. Yeah, there's no problem with that. I think I read something. Well, I know I read something. I think it was 54% of all Americans at one point have had a storage unit at some point or another.
Wow.
That's a lot, and I make up a big percentage of that because I've had one multiple times in my life. But most people don't think it's good. I think they think it's going to be short term, and then it ends up being long term because it's so inconvenient. So yeah, that's interesting. That Tim Horton, that's a good analogy. That's a good analogy. And we don't know what we don't know. I was really lucky because no one helped me when I had no train. Literally, here's an hour training on our software, and good luck. I don't think they told me good luck, though. I just think they sent me on my way, and they were like, "Well, we have another breather. We have another dealer who's breathing.
No, that's
another breather.
It is a breather.
I'm going to call it a breather from now on."
Yeah, I've seen that happen
Yeah.
so many times.
And the difference between me
yeah.
and most is I was going to figure it out, but boy, was it painful.
But once you figured it out, you knew what you knew.
Well, and I'm still learning. I learn something all the time new
Yeah.
that I'm
Oh,
like,
yeah.
wow, I can, and being adaptable. But it breaks my heart. There's so many dealers struggling, which then in turn makes manufacturers suffer, and then it makes haulers that aren't staying as busy as perhaps they want to be. It's like we just have to do better. I don't know. I don't have the answer, but
Well, at the end of the day, I think what I'm hearing is that we need each other.
yeah.
And it'd be nice if we'd be nice.
Absolutely. Little story about Holler. Great, fantastic guy. And I just met him recently, and he did a little work for me, moving some buildings around. And I asked him. I had some Dr. Pepper or whatever. He wanted root beer. I had a root. Yeah, I'll bring you a root beer. And he's like, "Thanks for coming out and greeting me." And I'm thinking in my head, I know where this is going because I've done this long enough. And I'm like, absolutely. And I had asked him, hey, is there any chance while you're here? He was moving some stuff around. Those couple of those, the door doesn't open right. Could you? Oh, absolutely. No problem. I'll get those adjusted, and did a great job. And then he said to me, you're one of the only dealers that's ever asked me, like sometimes I see that a building is unlevel, and sometimes I've made the building unlevel unintentionally. They're in a hurry or, things happen. But he's like, you're one of the only dealers that's ever asked me to fix it. Probably don't know where I'm going here, but I hear an awful lot of dealers say, those doggone drivers, they just don't level the buildings. They don't do this. They don't do that. And I said to the hauler, I said, I work with a lot of dealers, and I always suggest that they take care of their part of the street, and that is to come out and greet you. And to let you know, please come in and see me before you leave real quick, just so I can make sure that it's right where I want it and that the door opens. So many problems could be prevented by something you said earlier. Communication. But I thought it's so funny because I hear the haulers saying, how would it make, well, you've probably had this. I was just talking to Mervin about this today. I said, I can't imagine hauling a shed, which is a hard job, and you go to a dealer's lot. It's hard enough dealing with customers that you've never met before, and maybe the expectations weren't set and you're trying to do your best, but you go to a dealer's lot, and that dealer doesn't even get up from behind their desk and come out and greet you.
Oh yeah, I've been there.
That just blows me away.
Had a bunch of them.
And
in fact, the only dealer that used to come out and greet me back when I was doing some dealer lot stuff on the side of my own stuff, I actually hired her and put her a mile down the street on her own lot, because she would come out, make sure I had all my stuff right, and tell me about the customer.
Being a nice person.
Yeah, being a nice person. And she is. You met her.
I know exactly who you're talking about. I was guessing that's who it was.
She's on a little bitty lot and sells more than anybody in Anderson County.
I was going to say,
I wonder why.
And she is doing fantastic to this day.
Because, she cares about her people.
Yeah.
And I promise you, if I'd follow up on 100 of her last customers, I get the same thing from all of them, that, hey, she actually listened and she cared about what we wanted.
Yep. But think about that. And, if there's dealers out there listening, when was the last time that you stopped what you were doing when your driver got there, whether it be to pick up a building or to deliver one? When was the last time you went out and said, hey, how's it going?
Or take a water out with you.
Or take a water out with you.
Whatever.
So let me throw this in the middle of the soup.
Yeah. Is this soup?
It could be.
Okay.
So my wife saw this
I don't even want to think
billboard
about soup right now.
or
So full.
some sign the other day that said that unspoken expectations becomes resentment.
I was going to say expectations are future resentments.
So it's the
absolutely.
unspoken expectation. I saw something that was more intense with that. But there's another one that I've heard years ago, and I've been borrowing for a number of years, and that is that lack of communication leads to accusation.
Mm-hmm.
Lack of communication leads to speculation.
Oh, yes, absolutely.
Here it is. Lack of communication leads to
assumption.
speculation. Yeah. Speculation leads to accusation. Accusation leads to strife and division, and strife and division becomes devastation.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because we didn't communicate.
For sure. Yeah, if there's
the expectations and the communication, it's a very interesting, and I'm not so amazing at it, but
it just cracks me up though when I talk to dealers and they're like, well, they rushed in and out of here, and the door didn't open right, and I'm like, wouldn't you have caught that if you went out and said, hey, just touch base with me before you leave, and I just want to make sure everything's good so we can prevent any. Well, I don't want to do that. It's like, well, why not? Why is it that we feel like we have to work against each other within our own industry? Someone write in and explain it to me. Why are we working against each other? Let's come together.
Well, I
Be
think
kind.
that's what I think. I'm gonna point the spotlight over here on Sam. Is I think that what Sam does that I saw at the Shed Haulers Bash, and I've been watching just from the observation deck for a few years, is that Sam likes to celebrate people. And I like to be liked. I hate to be hated. I like to be liked and not just tolerated. And everybody I know feels that way too. How about you?
Yes.
I stole that from John Schmidt.
That was pretty good.
I was going to say, I remember that from somewhere.
But there's this value of just being valid and validated as a human being, first of all, and then what you do and the effort that you put in of just acknowledging and saying, thanks for doing that. I might have a suggestion for you of how we can do this. But the whole point is that let's encourage each other.
Yeah. And don't,
We'll be all right.
If there's a dealer out there saying, well, the haulers should come in and say hi, well, you can only control your part. And I just challenge you to do your part, and you will be amazed how people will step up to the plate, and you can have an absolutely wonderful relationship with the people that you're working on the same team with. Don't buy into if someone's encouraging you or to stay apart from the people that truly are part of the team. Don't buy into it, because it's happening. I've seen it.
I'm going to go back to music. It's so many times there's things. A song that comes to mind right now is saying, "Listen to your heart."
Yeah.
It's there,
Right.
and then
Well,
when it conflicts with all this stuff of
You're
saying, "Well, you
kinder
shouldn't
than
do
me,
this,"
because I'm like, use your common sense. Get up from behind your desk. Go out and greet the hauler. Be nice. Bring him a water. Just be nice.
What was
Truly
the
nice.
golden rule? Do unto others as you would have them do unto you.
Right.
Stephen Covey said he reworded that in a little different way, but he said in the 7 Habits of Highly Effective People.
Oh, yeah.
He did a retake on that and worded it a little different, but it was the same premise of that, of saying to consider what other people before your own.
That is so un-American.
I don't care.
I'm teasing about that. We do need to be kinder, but
We can do it.
There are so many
We
little
can do
things
this.
that we can change in this industry, just like one person at a time. Like my team, I'm telling you, it was a part of working for me. I don't care what you're doing. I don't care if you're sitting with the customer. You stop what you're doing. You tell your customer, I'll be back in 5 minutes. I always go greet our driver. These little things will make a huge difference on making this industry better. But it starts with me. It starts with you. It starts with you. It starts with each individual, not what the driver should do, not what the dealers should do, not what you would do if that driver had a bad experience. Because quite honestly, it doesn't matter that you haven't had that experience. But yeah, we just need to be kinder and work together.
Have you been considering adding a line of greenhouses to your brand? At Cold Spring Enterprises, we have the perfect solution for you. By incorporating greenhouse products into your sales location, whether you're a do-it-yourself dealer or a manufacturer supporting multiple shed lots, you can expand your customer base. We offer easy-to-assemble greenhouse kits that will simplify the process of adding greenhouses to your lot. You can choose between 2 basic styles, an economy style and an A-frame style. We can ship a standard 8x12 greenhouse kit directly to your shed lot or manufacturing location. These kits include all the necessary components for assembly, except for the wainscoting or clear panels, door, and fan. However, we can assist you in connecting with the supplier for these items. Moreover, we also offer negotiable bulk pricing for multiple units. To help you get started, we are pleased to offer an exclusive discount through the Shed Geek Podcast. You can receive an 8x12 economy or A-frame style greenhouse, complete with wainscoting or clear panels, a screen door, and fan. The pricing for a complete one-time display unit starts at $2,195 for an economy style and $2,545 for an A-frame style, excluding shipping and tax. For more information and to request bulk unit pricing, please visit www.shedgeek.com/cold shed-geek-spring-enterprises and fill out your information, and someone will be in touch with you as soon as possible. Or simply go to the Shed Geek newsletter and click on the greenhouse picture to fill out your information. Thank you for considering our greenhouse kits. We are excited to work together to bring greenhouse kits to your line of products.
You brought up the bash a little bit. I was going to ask you about that. What was your experience as somebody new, fairly new to the shed industry, but that knows me, and what your bash experience?
What a blast.
It's a good time.
It was such a, I didn't know what to expect.
Yeah.
It was far larger than I thought it would be.
It's big.
Fair.
And the camaraderie of, if I wouldn't have got in the industry of the music industry years ago, I could have had a whole lot of fun with trucks and lights and just
Yep.
guys having fun of decorating their rig, of the show and tell,
Yep.
the parade with the lights and all that kind of stuff. What a blast. The food.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
Food. We don't need to be talking about food. I'm in a food coma currently.
Well, deal with it.
So, yeah.
It was so fun just to watch, even like young couples coming, and I don't think I'm that old, but then I look in the mirror and wonder who showed up in my place. But watching young couples come, that it's not just the guys, but their wives
Yeah.
come along with them and their families, and saying, this is what Dad does. Mm-hmm. And it's just fun of saying everybody's in it together. It's a family deal. It's not just the guys, but maybe from a long ways away the guys come by themselves. But it was just fun for me to see the whole variety of it. And the competitions, friendly competitions from hauling bricks to whatever, and the guys and the gals competitions with it, and having a good time. Have some meals, the drawings.
Yep.
And more
what
drawings
fun.
and more
And
drawings.
more drawings.
Oh my goodness.
And
we do like giving
just
stuff away.
Oh man.
Yeah. What fun.
Yeah.
Oh,
But it was
yeah.
just like everybody left there with something in their hand and in their spirit, that it was like, this was a good day. Mm-hmm. I'm glad I went. It was worth every penny I spent, because now I'm ready to go back into the mundane, as it were, of my work. But I know I'm not alone. I think that to me was huge. Of, wow, this is the world that a lot of people have no idea about. But
Right.
here's these guys that are the unknown, who are serving the community and serving people and getting their sheds to them and having a good time and making a living and taking care of their families.
Yep. That's a
That
good word.
That was fun. And my friend John Schmid was so excited about it.
Yeah, it was great to have him too. Yes.
Yeah.
Mr. John
I've
Schmid,
mentioned that
Johnny
before,
Cash.
and a few minutes ago we talked about expectations or future resentments and that, and I brought that up I think earlier today or yesterday, that with the Shed Haulers Bash, my expectations were so high because apparently someone did some good marketing about getting that bash out there,
It amazes me that people. Well, I told somebody today that sometimes I'm kind of disappointed in the fact that people look at me as the hauler guru. Because I don't know why it's me, but I'm the one that kind of whips the haulers into shape and keeps them in line a little bit. And I have hauled a couple sheds.
Well, you're like a good Uncle Sam.
Yeah, but there is a sales and marketing side to me. And if you show up at the bash, if you take any time to look at it a little bit, you figure that out.
Oh yes.
But it's crazy because nobody wants to recognize old Sam Bassett as having any sales knowledge.
Oh, I do.
And it's funny.
Yes.
But then like today I got mad and I told Shannon, I'm like, I don't understand. And he's like, well, it just sucks to be you. It's like, you'll be okay. He didn't actually say
You'll
that,
be
but that's
okay.
kind of what he told me. You know, I don't mind. It's all said in goodwill, but it does. What has always been key to me, and I can't refer, like most of my little quirks, I can refer back to somebody or something said. And this is one I can't really, but it's ingrained in me. Maybe my dad taught it to me. He was caught instead of taught, what he was saying earlier. Yeah. And that is the fact that you have to give people value. And I look at that, if I want, and I told Jason this, I said, if we're going to throw a party, then whoever pays for the party has to get value for it. Right. And I feel like if I died today, every one of my sponsors would have to say that he did that well. He gets us value.
Absolutely.
And the haulers would have to say they got value.
Yeah.
And there was I got to say this. I was so impressed because it's so easy in any culture, in any business realms and industry, is to say, okay, so here's the guys who are with the bigger companies and they're making good money and whatever, and then they're just there to make the money. Mm-hmm. And our political culture feeds that kind of stuff. I was so impressed with the companies who paid for things for people, for meals, for whatever, that didn't have to. And they weren't waving their flag around. Mm-hmm.
Yep.
But they just quietly did their stuff because they could and they wanted to.
Yep.
The beauty of that, of saying, hey, I care about you guys. I got your meal.
Mm-hmm. It's huge.
That, to me, is it's a wonderful thing to have the opportunity to do that, and they do it. And then on the flip side is the recipients of that, of saying somebody cared enough about me to buy my meal, and I don't even know them personally.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
That was. It's just fun to watch that being, because what that does is it feeds something for the next generations of saying, when there's enough there that they have the ability to do that for somebody else, and they'll do it because the seeds were sown years ago.
Yes.
And
I agree
I love
100%.
that.
Yep.
My expectations were so high that I actually was like, there's no way this is going to meet my expectations. Like, I was so prepared for that.
Challenge
I came
accepted.
home, I was like, it was so much better than I even thought. It was so amazing. And, Mike was like, no way. Because I was just like, it was.
So there is
fun.
one thing that has to be said about that. It is what you make it. You could have gone into that with low expectations and come away with lower results.
Oh, I do have a good attitude.
We all know that. I'm not saying you, but people can do that.
Oh, for sure.
We all know that's.
Well, there's some people you just cannot please, but no. I just, for me, it was just. I know there's been others. I just am I'm just an optimistic, positive person. That's just who I am. Yeah. But I thought, man, I've set the expectations so high. I mean, there's no way.
That's great.
But yeah, it was it was so fun to watch and observe and.
So the key to me, if we're going to make a bash commercial out of this for just a sec, or one of the barbecues, people ask me, what's a barbecue? What's a bash? What's the difference? Well, the barbecues are considered more regional. Mm-hmm. They're a little bit more family oriented, even though this bash we saw a lot more families than we ever have before. But if I'm going to turn this into a bash commercial, the thing that I will say that really, and I pushed to make this happen, but they stepped up and did it, was the non-hauler participation that we had, the participation from the sponsors. That I told them, I said, I don't want just your money. I want you to show up. And they actually did it.
Well, because you set
so
the
you
expectation.
Asked for the sale.
Yeah, I did.
I was going to say, you set the expectation. It's like, they show it, and
they got even more value for their money by doing that.
Oh, absolutely.
Oh, yes.
Absolutely.
So it's listen, we can apply that to anything we want to in life.
Yeah.
You buy a Ford and have good expectations, you probably have a truck that runs good. You buy a Ford and have bad expectations, and you're going to be like all the rest of them and say, well, it was a Ford. So
hey, I love my Ford.
Yeah. So it's
and I love my Chevy too. And before that, but isn't that funny? See, we're talking about expectations, and I'm thinking in my head, I'm grateful to have a vehicle.
There you go.
Yeah.
It's attitude.
Yeah.
It's It's attitude, for sure. What do you most look forward to about your not ongoing? Well, it is ongoing, but what are you looking forward to in the future in this industry? What do you hope to get, Dan, out of it personally, going forward? I think it's opened up some doors for you, and it's going to this industry is going to get you closer to your grandkids, which is
Right.
the ultimate goal, and I think that's absolutely marvelous. You know, personally, because I mean, at the end of the day, it's a shed. It's not real exciting, but there's there's way more to it.
I love the people aspect because I love meeting people and seeing what we can do in meeting people's needs, because it is a need for people. I think on a personal level, I would love to toy with the thought of what could be done with this for me, with my grandkids, that they could be part of it and
I
just
like
observe
that.
it, of what's happening with it, and say, hey, you know, because I don't know, I love to play around with some of the ideas, because they like, I mean, it's two boys and a girl at this point, and it's like, okay, so they love trucks and they love all this stuff and the quads and
Yeah.
all this stuff and being out in the country. And it's like, okay, so what could you do that could be some business-oriented things? They're young.
Right.
But time goes by
But
in a
more
hurry.
is caught than taught.
And it's like just
it
being
does go
able
by
to
in a
hang
hurry.
out together, and it's something that's an environment where they could be.
Absolutely, I agree.
And so, you know, without
Yeah.
being too unrealistic,
Yeah.
I look at the possibilities of that.
Yeah.
But I love interaction with people and just meeting people and from all walks of life, because I love studying people. And
People are
That's fun.
interesting, for sure. You were talking, and I was listening, but I was also having this little flashback about a brief conversation with Matthew Black at the Haulers Bash. And I believe he has a couple of younger kids. And I was having this recollection of a conversation of, this is the legacy. This is, I can do this, and it's a legacy. And I'm like, wow, that's really cool, because my legacy is sitting over here to my right. You know, one of them, and passing it, being able to this continue,
yeah,
because it's a great industry, really fun people. I mean, it is. I think it's great. It's relationship building, and it doesn't really matter what you do if you're passionate about it. Definitely a people business. But remember our people. Your people are your dealers, your haulers, your builders, those people in the corporate office. Please, please, please work together. Be a team. You will take your business to the next level if you do. That's my opinion. It's free.
Well, my old pastor friend would say, when he dismissed church, he'd say, all right, go be the people of God, play nice, start in the parking lot.
Ooh. I like that. Dan says all sorts of cool stuff.
yeah.
You know that, but
Oh,
see,
yeah, I
I'm
do.
just getting
Yeah,
used
but
to it.
I
I'm
borrowed
like,
them from everybody else.
it doesn't matter.
It's
It
fun.
doesn't matter. You know, it doesn't have to be original to be profound.
That's right.
Say that again.
Play nice.
Start
And it
Start
starts
in
in
the
the
parking
parking lot. So, dealers, it starts in your parking lot. Go out and meet those dealers.
Yeah, meet
drivers
those
tomorrow.
drivers. I wondered if you were going to pick up on that.
Absolutely.
Yep.
It was absolutely
That's the other thing
delicious.
about hanging out with this shed industry people. We always eat good.
Yeah.
I'm actually one of the highlights to go on to the expo this year for me is to get to eat with all the haulers, and we'll do the Blackstone thing again. This
Nice.
episode might not get. I don't know. It might get out in time or it might not.
Yeah.
But
I think it will.
We I think last year. Actually, Neil called me the other day. He reserved it for us. Not last year. Last time we were there 4 years ago. He's like, "Hey, are we going to reserve the Blackstone restaurant?" And I'm like, "Why are you even asking me?" Of course we're going to reserve it. Last time we had 31 or 33 people there. I said, just reserve the whole
Wow.
restaurant this time.
Yeah.
We'll just
Was that the place that you said, well, I have meetings that it's, you know, the haulers the one night, and you're like, well, you weren't opposed to going there a second night? Was
Oh
it that
yeah,
restaurant?
no, that's yeah, it is.
So,
That's true.
Yeah.
Yeah, and
Yeah,
we,
I'm
you
looking
know,
forward to that.
in Tennessee, we had over 100 guys showed up at that Brazilian steakhouse. we basically did shut the place down that night.
Oh yeah. Yeah. It's cool. Well, I would like to thank you. Thank you very much, Dan. Thank you, Sam. As always,
Yeah,
I'm
honored to be
gonna
here.
get
Thank
Sam
you.
someday. He's gonna agree to be on a Shed Gal podcast of Magnificent Monday, and boy, do I have questions for him. But we'll leave that for another day.
Yeah,
too bad I
I
interrupted
got
you.
out of it tonight.
Yeah.
So I'm in good
Yeah,
shape.
we intended to do 1 hour, and now we've, this is the end of
Yeah.
the second episode, but it was great conversation. I hope that we've provided a little bit of information that someone can get something, someone can take away something that'll be helpful to them. I'd like to thank you for listening to this week's episode of the Shed Geek Podcast on Magnificent Mondays. Sam, thank you. Dan, thank you. And this is the Shed Gal. We will see you soon.
Hey, this is Mo Lunsford in sunny Union Grove, North Carolina, and we want to say thank you to all the guests and listeners.